would help with the microphone plugged in. I did plug the microphone in, but for some reason it didn't go in all the way and it didn't record on this microphone. I'm gutted, but I'm not going to re-record it, so I'm afraid you'll have to put up with the sound. Hopefully it's not too bad. Okay, on with the video. Now I own 60 Necron Flayed Ones. I started my themed Flayed One army back in 5th edition when this codex came out and Flayed Ones were really bad. I wanted to make them work on the table. However, when Games Workshop brought out this codex, the 7th edition codex with the Decurion, Flayed Ones became really good. However, how do they fare in 9th edition? Let's delve a little bit deeper into our Necrons 9th edition codex, and it's coming right up.
Necrons!
Okay, here we go. Hang on. Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. And if you're new to the channel and you want to learn about Necrons and more, then please subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss an upload. Okay, so let's have a look at Flayed Ones, one of my favourite units in the Necron Codex. Warriors with claws who have flayed their enemy's skin and draped it over themselves. How cool is that? Now their stats line hasn't really changed much. Actually, it's not changed at all. So they move 5 inches still. They are weapon skill 3 and ballistic skill 6. Strength 4, toughness 4. They have 1 wound each, 3 attacks and leadership 10. They also have the same save, a 4+ save. However, their flare claws have changed, so it's -1 AP now, which before it was 0. However, previously you could re-roll the failed wound rolls, and that has gone. Now, to compensate for this a little bit, we've got the Flesh Hungry special rule. Now this doesn't work against vehicles, but against everything else. Any unmodified roll of a 6 to hit gives us 1 extra hit. That's pretty good, especially with the -1 AP. The previous Flesh Hunger special rule was the -1 to leadership after you've slayed an enemy. But that's been changed now to Terrifying Foe, and it's an aura ability, and this time it's -2 to leadership. And you don't have to kill anyone to get it. It's there all the time within 3 inches of your enemy. Ah, little baby Necron girl used to have this in her cot. However, I'm clearing out the cupboards and he's got to go.
Necron!
Okay, let's move on to the points for Flayed Ones, because the points have gone up and down over the years quite dramatically. Well, currently, at the moment, because things change very quickly, in 9th edition they are 13 points a miniature. So that's 130 for 10. Oh, Corona sneeze. So 130 points for 10 and 260 points for the maximum unit size of 20. Now I'm going to cover unit sizes later in the video, but first, what about the other special rules? They still have Reanimation Protocol, and single wounded miniatures have had a massive buff to RP. I've made a video all about RP, which I'll link you up to at the end of this one. But Reanimation Protocol, it's still there, and it's much better. The Hunting Horrors special rule has been replaced with Transdimensional Translocation. The Hunting Horrors special rule has been replaced with Transdimensional... This could be a mouthful. Dimensional Translocation. The Hunting Horrors special rule has been replaced with Dimensional. The Hunting Horrors special rule has been replaced with Dimensional Translocation. Basically, the army-wide special rule for units that can deep strike. Now, I find, personally, the most fun way to play... Fun way Now personally I find the most fun way to play Flayed Ones is to deep strike them. Not only that, but tactically they give you a lot of options. We'll talk more about that later in the video, but first of all, yes, they have command protocols. Now once again, like I've said previously, command protocols can be very difficult to actually make work. However, it is something that they have, and it could be, under the right circumstances, with the right planning, very useful. The Novok favoured command protocol, Hungry Void, gives you an extra -1 AP on a roll of a 6 to wound, and gives you +1 to strength. Very useful, especially if you can use both at the same time, on the right turn, under the right circumstances. However, what else have we got? Well, let's talk about stratagems. Now, my favourite stratagem to use with Flayed Ones was the +1 to strength, making the Flayed Ones strength 5 very, very useful. However, Flayed Ones are not a core unit, and that stratagem that I used to love using has been changed to core units only, so we can't benefit from that stratagem. However, we have two very good stratagems for Flayed Ones. The first stratagem is a defensive stratagem. It's called Shadows of Drazak, and for 1 CP, whenever the unit is targeted, you can be -1 to hit rolls. Now that is pretty powerful. That means if you do want to play them with Deep Strike and they come in and they fail to do an assault and they're left standing there like a lemon, or at least when your enemy shoots at them, when they target them, they're -1 to attack. Now that's very, very useful. The great thing about this stratagem is it's until the end of the phase, so no matter how many units attack you in that phase, you still get that -1 to hit. -1 to attack rolls in both shooting and close combat. Couple that with Reanimation Protocol, where you can get back up after every attack that happens on that unit after they deep strike, means, well, certainly a big unit of Flayed Ones is very survivable if they don't get into the assault. However, of course, we would love to get them into the assault, and when we do, we've got another stratagem. For 2 CPs, we've got Storm of Flensing Blades, which basically is a fight again stratagem. So you get your Flayed Ones in. If they don't do enough damage, you can spend 2 CPs and you can fight again. Very, very useful. So let's have a chat about unit sizes. So between 5 and 20. What I like about this is the fact that we have lots of options, lots of ways to play Flayed Ones. Now, to make the most use of Reanimation Protocol, of course, the bigger the squads, the better, the more survivable it's going to be. Of course, that's more points. Also, though, we could take units of 5 if we want to, giving us a totally different way to play Flayed Ones. Yes, you could take a unit of 5 and just put them on an objective, especially if you're taking the Custom Dynasty where their objectives secure. However, they are an elite slot, and we've got a very big list of units in the elite slot. However, if you did have an elite slot available to you, you could take a small unit of 5 and also deep strike them, but for different purposes. Rather than deep striking, trying to get into assault and killing your enemy, you could deep strike again for objectives. Maybe you've taken deploy scramblers, deep strike them in your opponent's deployment zone and deploy those scramblers, or just deep strike them in an awkward place for your opponent. Just cause them some distraction for 65 points. If you've got the points spare and an elite slot spare, then you've got options with Flayed Ones, and that's what I really like about the varying unit sizes. However, in normal play, to use Flayed Ones maybe how they should be played, I definitely would recommend at least a unit of 15. I think 15 probably would be the minimum. You could take 10, but I think 10 would be much easier to kill than 15. However, of course, a max unit of 20 could really hurt but of course it's more expensive in points. So you have to weigh up how many points you have in your list, how many points you want to invest in Flayed Ones. Rule number 1. Necrons are best. Now, in terms of the dynastic codes, the Novok dynasty actually suit Flayed Ones pretty well. +1 to the assault roll, meaning when you deep strike those Flayed Ones, you've got a much better chance of actually getting them into assault. Plus, on the turn that you charge, or you are charged, you get an extra -1 AP. So that's -2 AP, and with the command protocols active, you could get some of those dice to -3 AP. Novok Dynasty Flayed Ones are very good, however you do have the custom dynasties and Rad Wreathed, which makes your enemy -1 to their toughness, meaning your strength 4 claws are going to be a lot more powerful. And then for your second custom dynastic code, you could take Butchers, which, guess what, gives you +1 to charge rolls. Both of these options, of course, are well suited to deep striking Flayed Ones, getting into assault and doing as much damage as they can. However, you don't have to deep strike Flayed Ones. You could deploy them normally, maybe taking the dynastic code that gives them objective secure and a 6-inch movement at the start of the game. Personally, I think Flayed Ones are much better off deep striking. I think you get much better tactical options, but I'd love to know what you think. Do you agree? Let me know in the comments box below. Now, if you were going to go with the Novok dynasty, we do have the stratagem Blood's Rights, which is just 1 CP and gives the whole unit an extra +1 attack. That's 4 attacks on Flayed Ones. Now that is a lot of attacks. Oosh. I think the most disappointing thing about Flayed Ones is the fact that they don't have the core special rule. I'd love to be able to deploy them with a Chronomancer with the Veil of Darkness, give them a 5+ invulnerable save, teleports them, and then attempt to get into assault. That would be another very good way to use them. However, they're not core, so we can't do that. We can use Grand Illusion from the Deceiver, but of course that's only in your deployment zone. However, on the whole, especially for 9th edition and how the missions work, I think Flayed Ones are a massive yes from me. I'm loving them, I'm definitely using them. Actually, I used them in a recent battle report, which I'll link you up to just there. And here's the video, actually here's the playlist of the video that I made regarding command protocols, and it's got the Reanimation Protocols and also my Wraith video in there as well for you to watch next.